How do you go from a situation in which you are not playing any gigs to an alternate situation in which you are playing some gigs, or if you prefer, gigs? What? These are all working titles. Hello and welcome back to Pro Tips for Independent Bands. You want gigs, and that's okay. Let's go through a tick list of things you need to do or have before you start looking for gigs. Maybe this first one is obvious, but you need songs. Yeah? Several songs which you know inside out and will be able to play without being able to hear yourself clearly or any of your bandmates. Don't worry, if that doesn't make sense now, it will when you start gigging. A set list. You need to put those songs that you've written in an order that kind of makes sense as a live performance. Maybe you have a few different lengths of set lists, so a 15-minute one, a half-hour one, and a 45-minute one, just so you can fill a variety of slots should you need to. It's also really important that once you've played a gig or two, you start swapping out songs that the audience doesn't seem to like with newer material. It is kind of more important what the audience thinks than what your band thinks about this. An email address from which you actually respond to emails. Maybe someone in the band has this as their band job. Yeah. A band job is what a person does in a band beside playing an instrument. Not whatever that was. Video recordings of you guys playing live, which you upload to YouTube. All hail mighty YouTube. Like videos. Not a music video though, although that's cool and everything. It doesn't necessarily give the promoter an idea of what you guys will be like on stage. So maybe just a video of you guys playing in a garage with 1 or 2 or 3 songs played all the way through. It doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy. Good audio would be helpful, but not exactly necessary. And once you've played a few gigs, you can always swap this footage with footage of you guys actually on a stage. Lastly, stagecraft.
I can do mine, war, or witch, but not stagecraft.
That means that when you're on a stage, you look like you're a band that is performing together to an audience. And yeah, that's going to be really tricky for you guys to try and pull off without having played any gigs and had no practice at it, but maybe just get some family or friends to watch you guys rehearse so you get used to being watched. Sorted. Enough of all that preparation stuff. This is what you actually need to do in order to go and find gigs. Research venues. Step 1, go to the internet. Step 2, use the internet. It's easy. Type in wherever it is you live, the county, the city, or the nearest big city, followed by the word gigs, or events, or local events, or pub gigs. Any combination of those words should get you the results you need. If nothing else, this will just familiarise you with your local scene and give you an idea of what kind of events happen in what places. Maybe some venues are genre specific, maybe some venues will just have like a monthly unplugged thing that could be good for you guys. But what you want to look for is whether or not they have an in-house promoter. An in-house promoter is a dude, probably just a guy that works behind the bar actually, but he also books events for that venue. If that's the case, that's the person you need to get in contact with. Find their email, introduce yourselves, your band name. Your age could actually be quite important depending on whatever they say their license is. So give them your age, your genre, and just a tiny amount of information about yourselves. Or you could go to that venue in person and try and find that in-house promoter to talk to in person. That's also helpful. If they don't have an in-house promoter, you can just start researching promoters again. Go to internet, use internet. Try and get an idea of what styles they accommodate, what kind of audiences they pull, and what kind of venues they book. Some promoters might work in several venues across many different styles, so it's really worth doing that research so you kind of know who you're talking to, yeah? Even better, go to one of these local events in person. Yeah, you gotta pay entry even if you're just there to talk to a promoter, obviously. At the end of a performance, just look for a promoter and go up to them and talk to them. If it's been a successful night, they'll be cheerfully helping the bands pack away, knowing that they've made rent for that month. If it's been a poor turnout, they'll probably be trying to disappear out the back door without having to cover anyone's travel expenses. When talking to a promoter, don't go into silly amounts of detail. It's really easy to over-enthuse about what you're doing, but they've heard it all before from bands that are better than you, so just don't. Really simple stuff. We're a metal band and we have our own drum kit and amplifiers and transport to get them here, and we're happy for other bands to use our gear. That's enough. Maybe we're available as of next week and we could do up to an hour's worth of material. Really, really bare essentials of information there, yeah? And then you swap contact details, whether that's a business card or you're scribbling your email down on a piece of paper. Here are the kinds of things a promoter does not want to hear.
We have got a 10-minute drum solo in our set because we're quite progressive and ahead of our time. We are reinventing disco. It's
kind of like dating. You don't want to be too eager, so wait a couple days, then send them an email, the same sort of email that I talked about earlier. If you don't get a response, maybe wait another week or so, send them a nudge, and then just don't worry about it, find another promoter. The last thing you want to do is obsess and get all stalkery, again, kind of like dating. That is basically everything you need to know in order to start finding yourself some gigs. We've got some final considerations, but before that, you gotta pay some bills. You may or may not know that Stab Panda Productions is an independent collection of just a handful of creative people working creatively together to create creative projects. Creative. Pro Tips for Independent Bands is just one of our projects. My hope is that this show and others will always remain free for general public access, but that does mean that we have to use our own money on equipment and often dip into savings to do so. If you see the value in what we're doing here, we'd all be hugely appreciative if you took a look at our Patreon creator profile. Patreon is a crowdfunding site, kind of like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but it operates on a subscription basis, so rather than us trying to get thousands of pounds, we want like $1 a month. That's it. We have various different goodies available which range from merchandise to behind the scenes access to a bespoke promotion plan or album advice specific to your band, crafted precisely for you as an individual project. So if you want to take a look, we are at patreon.com/StabPanda. There might be a URL here, there might not, I'm not really sure. But yeah, if you want to have a look at that, we'd be hugely appreciative of that. Back to the show. So just to wrap up, here are a few things that you don't need but would certainly help. Business cards. So when you talk to promoters or anyone else for that matter, rather than just scribbling your phone number or email address down on whatever paper is available, you hand them a business card. That's going to make you look just orders of magnitude more professional and more like you know what you're doing. Business cards, get them. A Facebook page. Promoters shouldn't judge you on the number of likes you have on their page. That's shouldn't, not won't. They shouldn't, but they might. A smart promoter should know to look at the number of interactions you have. So if you post a photo of a recent rehearsal, how many comments do you have, how many likes, how many shares, that kind of thing. That's what should matter, not the number of likes, although the number of likes is a good indicator. Interactions is what you want to go for. Confidence. You need confidence when talking to strangers, especially strangers that you want something from, like promoters. It will not hurt you to send the most confident person in the band to talk to promoters on your behalf. Again, talking to promoters could be a band member's band job. Transport. If you have the ability to move your own gear around, that's going to make you way more appealing. Basically, if you're able to bring your own equipment to gigs, it's one less thing for a promoter to worry about, especially if you're happy with other bands using your drum kit or your amp cabinets or any of your other gear. It's just one less thing for a promoter to worry about. If you're all reliant on tiny cars or you don't have big enough amps for gigs, don't worry about it. But when you're talking to a promoter, you have got to be upfront with, we don't have amps that can play gigs, or we don't have a drum kit we can bring. Yeah, it'll be an extra thing for the promoter to worry about, but that's better than you just turning up and like, where's all the amps at? Oh, you don't want that. That's awkward. I've been there. Lastly, interviews. This is probably more helpful down the line, but if you have interviews which are easily accessible from Facebook or your own website or whatever you link to on your business cards, that will help a promoter get an idea of how together your band is, what maybe to expect with communications with you. And it could be a written interview, audio interview, video interviews are the best, in my opinion, and also factually. But whatever interview you can get is just going to be helpful to finding gigs. So there we have it, a collection of things to help you guys take a running start at this whole live performance business. Hopefully this has been some use to you, and we will see you next time. Toodaloo. Thanks again for watching. Please feel free to comment with any suggestions for future videos or any comments or questions you have about this video. If you want to like and subscribe as well, that would really actually help us out. On screen right now, you should see a subscribe button. There is also a link to our Patreon creator profile if you want to support us in that way. Lastly, there should be a link to whichever video YouTube believes from our catalogue you will most enjoy. I will leave you to click on whichever of those you choose to do. That was a coherent sentence, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.